Welcome to this explainer. Today we're jumping straight into the fascinating gap between expectation and reality when it comes to how we express our emotions and how machines, well, profoundly misinterpret us. We are unpacking a really incredible study on multimodal emotion recognition in conversational AI and mixing in some foundational psychology on human facial expressions. It's a journey that actually reveals just as much about our own biological hardwiring as it does about the artificial intelligence we're building to try and understand us.
You know, we'd all love to think we've got a great poker face. We like to imagine we can totally conceal our true feelings from colleagues, friends, or even strangers. But science tells a completely different, much faster story. Have you ever interacted with someone and just felt this sudden, inexplicable sense of unease or mistrust, even if they were saying all the right things? Well, that gut feeling is actually your brain picking up on tiny bits of data that your conscious mind totally misses.
Biologically speaking, our faces are constantly selling us out. We do this through microexpressions. These are involuntary facial twitches that happen in just 1/25th of a second. That is incredibly fast, and it happens completely outside of our conscious control. And it's not always just a split-second thing either. We also experience what researchers call emotional leakage. This happens when two distinct groups of facial muscles literally compete against each other, creating a noticeable asymmetry. It's like when someone tries to smile politely with their mouth, but their eyes look like they're about to burst into tears. You absolutely cannot prevent this from happening.
So here's the logical leap. If we as humans are just fundamentally bad at hiding our emotions from each other, a highly advanced, camera-equipped artificial intelligence should be able to read our faces like an open book, right? I mean, the expectation is that if a machine is trained on millions and millions of images of human faces, it should easily pick up on these visual cues, those microexpressions, and that emotional leakage.
To put this exact premise to the test, researchers set up a really fascinating, unscripted user study. They brought in 20 participants, ranging everywhere from 22 to 90 years old, to interact with the Sambot elf. Now, this isn't just your standard passive voice assistant. It's a proactive, socially interactive agent powered by generative AI. The whole idea was for it to actively drive the conversation, adopt personas like a friend or a psychologist, and purposefully try to evoke very specific emotions from the human users.
So to figure out how these users were actually feeling, the system evaluated their real-time emotional states through two distinct channels. Think of it like a two-pronged attack. First, it used a computer vision module optimized for facial recognition, literally watching their faces through a camera. Second, it used a generative AI linguistic analysis engine powered by the OpenAI API to run sentiment analysis on the actual, literal words the users were speaking every few turns of the dialogue.
Okay, so let's look at how the investigation actually played out. The researchers had the AI proactively spark different emotions across completely unscripted chats, covering everyday topics like family, nature, and animals. Meanwhile, the users were asked to self-report their actual internal feelings, their ground truth, using an emotion matrix. The totally logical expectation here was that the visual system would just seamlessly track their shifting moods, easily capturing all those smiles, frowns, and microexpressions as the conversation naturally flowed.
But here is the massive plot twist of the study. The facial recognition module failed miserably. It hit a dismal 23.8% accuracy rate. That is barely better than just randomly guessing. Meanwhile, reading what the users actually said via the linguistic analysis engine performed nearly twice as well, sitting right around a 45% accuracy rate. So this machine, fully equipped with state-of-the-art visual detection, was completely misreading the room.
Now, what's really interesting is exactly how the AI got it so wrong. This brings us to a phenomenon the researchers dubbed the poker face effect. When self-reporting, the users noted that they internally felt focused, happy, attentive, or calm during these chats. But the facial recognition module was overwhelmingly categorizing their facial expressions as anger or disgust. In fact, negative emotions accounted for over 60% of the system's detections, despite the human users feeling perfectly fine.
So why the huge disconnect? Well, it turns out we human beings adopt a completely unnatural, severe, or just blank expression when we interact with a machine. Even when we're genuinely enjoying the conversation, we subconsciously freeze our faces. Why? Because we treat talking to an AI like an evaluative task or some complex cognitive challenge. We're concentrating really hard. So a blank stare of deep, focused concentration was being wildly misinterpreted by the algorithm as straight-up hostility. Because of this, analyzing conversational linguistics, the actual semantics of the words being spoken, became the saving grace for the system to accurately read human emotion.
But wait, Even the text analysis had a major blind spot. Enter a concept known as the lexical fallacy. The generative AI did a fantastic job overall, but it really stumbled when users used ambiguous language. For instance, if a user casually recounted a scary or sad memory from their past, saying something like, "Oh man, I was terrified when I saw that bear, but looking back, it's pretty funny," the AI would immediately latch onto words like terrified or sad. It completely failed to separate the semantic vocabulary of a past story from the user's current, safe, and happy state of mind.
Designing better AI companions, bridging the expressive gap. Let's move right along and explore the actionable takeaways from this study so we can actually design better, more socially aware AI systems. The researchers lay out some really vital recommendations here. First off, designers absolutely have to prioritize linguistic context over visual data. We simply cannot rely solely on a camera to gauge if a user is happy. Second, algorithms need to be explicitly calibrated for the poker face. They need to learn that a motionless, serious face often just means high engagement and focus, not anger. Third, AI should utilize effective probing. Basically, if a user looks mad but is saying happy things, the AI should just ask, "Hey, how are you finding this conversation?" to recalibrate. And finally, if the user starts giving short, disengaged answers, the system needs dynamic recovery tactics to pivot the chat naturally and break that rigidity.
Bringing this all back to our own human interactions, since we know we can't truly hide our emotional leakage and microexpressions from other humans anyway, and since machines are rapidly mastering our linguistic context, maybe trying to mask our feelings is just a losing battle across the board. Perhaps the absolute best way forward, whether you're leading a team at work or engaging with next-gen tech, is simply to be your authentic self. Don't lie, be genuine, and lead with empathy. When you communicate directly but with a genuine heart, you completely bypass the need for a poker face entirely.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. We are spending vast amounts of time, money, and computational power building these insanely complex machines to flawlessly read our feelings. Yet, simply by furrowing our brows in concentration, we easily baffle their state-of-the-art vision systems. So as we continue to refine these algorithms to understand the subtleties of human language and emotion, are we really teaching AI to be more human, or is the AI just teaching us how transparent yet wonderfully complex we truly are? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the tech around you, and I'll catch you next time.